Hey up everyone. Well, riding on the success of the CF Moto 450MT, or the Ibex as it's called in some markets, the big players are fighting back, and the latest contender to be announced is an all-new BMW F450GS Adventure bike, which joins the KLE 500 we talked about previously. To be clear, this is just a prototype, but it's a very finished looking prototype with a promise that it will be in showrooms by the end of 2025. Now, being a BMW, you would likely think it's not going to be cheap, and we may get a dulled down version by the time it comes to market, but we don't know either of those things yet, so we shouldn't make assumptions. What I'm going to do here is look at what we know so far and what is likely to come. To be straight, I do really like the look of this bike in general, although there is something I will comment on later from a visual perspective. What I've decided to do is a short, straight-talking intro to explain what I think the good, the bad and the ugly bits about this bike are. I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, don't forget to like it and leave a comment to help me keep the YouTube algorithm on side. You can support the channel in many ways, but please don't use the YouTube giving button because they take most of it. There are the T-shirts on the website and other merchandise, or there is a direct donation link in the description via Ko-fi, which means we actually get the donation, not YouTube. First, and as this is a prototype, this is conjecture, but this is information from BMW, so I guess you could say it's the best we can hope for. They say it will follow the A2 license regulations, will produce 48 horsepower and weigh in at 175 kilos wet. Well, the regs say 0.2 kilowatts per kilo, so 47 horsepower is the limit at 175 kilos, so I guess we can give them that one. They do say it is a wet weight too, but as we all know, the manufacturers all seem to have dodgy scales and a weird idea of what actually constitutes a wet weight. It is probably very doubtful that the weight is with a full tank. We didn't get figures, but the prototype did look very high, both in terms of seat height and ground clearance. So from that perspective, it looks very off-road focused. But then you notice it only has a 19-inch front wheel. So who is the target market? I guess if you consider there are a few bikes now fitted with a 21-inch front wheel that in reality have more road-focused geometry, BMW seem to have gone the other way round and used geometry more akin to a real dirt bike, but with a 19-inch front wheel to give you better road manners. They are tubeless spoke rims on the prototype, which would be very nice if they are carried forward onto production. The 19-inch front is a novel idea, and it could maybe work well, but I do think there is a chunk of the market that just won't accept anything other than a 21-inch front. Not only because it rolls over obstacles better, but simply because there is a better choice of off-road tyres. Looking at it, there is something that looks very familiar about it. Maybe BMW kept some of the old Husqvarna Nuda drawings in the back room and took the X-Country and Nuda as inspiration. But there is also something of the old F650GS Dakar in there too. So it does look a bit of a bitzer. But I do think it looks pretty good. The white steel trellis frame is more akin to the KTM and Ducati frames than any BMW of the past I've seen, and it is striking. They seem to be marketing it as a true 50-50 on off-road bike. We will have to wait and see how well it does at both. They say if you stay stood up on the footrests that it rides like a dirt bike, and if you ride sat down it feels like a road bike. Can it really do both? Many have tried, but few succeeded. There was a lot of talk about power delivery, and that it is both punchy at low revs to give you the grunt to handle steep climbs, but that it will rev far better than most twins, with no noticeable drop-off in power as the revs rise. So there are a lot of bold claims being thrown around even before it goes into production. What BMW were adamant about is that this bike will be in showrooms before the end of 2025. We will never get details for sure at this point, but the suspension looks to be pretty long travel, and the front upside down forks are fully adjustable on the prototype. With the rear, it's harder to tell, but it looks adjustable for damping as well as preload. I would assume it's fully adjustable on the prototype at least. On release, it may be that if they think the demand is there, they might do a base model with fairly basic suspension and then a better equipped version with fully adjustable suspension front and rear. Brakes are Brembos with a 4-piston radial caliper on a single disc at the front, and realistically that should be plenty of stopping power. Foot pegs are good and sturdy off-road style pegs too, but again, that could just be for the prototype. I said a while ago that this segment would be the new battleground, and with more bikes coming all the time, it's hotting up. The new Himalayan 450 and Triumph singles sold like hotcakes, and the CF Moto 450MT or Ibex is doing much the same, so it's a very competitive market sector. It will be hard for BMW to compete on price unless they have Lonsin make it for them, and the tech on the CF Moto and Cove mean it would be hard to put a less well-equipped bike up against them in the market. Personally, I hope they keep it simple. I want a cable clutch and a cable throttle, ideally with a dedicated ABS on-off button, but we do seem to get the 4-way mode switch used on many of the BMWs now. The clutch does look cable-driven, but I'm not so sure about the throttle. Styling is unmistakably GS 1300 derived, with what looks like many crossover parts and styling cues. That signature X-shaped headlamp is very distinctive, and they've made it look like everything fits together very well aesthetically. If anything, I would say it looks better than its bigger brother. We have to mention the engine anyway. Precise capacity isn't released, but it's a bit irrelevant as long as we're in the ballpark. What is interesting is BMW's statement that the firing order has never been seen before. The thing is, they haven't said what that firing order is. Now I know someone has been spreading the rumour that it's a 125-degree firing order, and it may be. But I have dredged all the sources I know and even crawled through endless patent applications to find out the truth of the matter, and honestly, I have come up completely empty-handed. I know who first said it, but I have absolutely no idea where the 125-degree figure actually came from, so I can't verify it. For those of you that don't know, the old British parallel twins run a 360-degree firing order in general. Then came the time of the 180-degree crank, and that system does have its advantages. Honda still use it today on the CB500X. These days, though, it is the 270-degree crank firing order that is most popular, although the KTM LC8C twins do run the theoretically better balanced 285-degree firing order. Now, if it had been a 90-degree or even 75-degree firing order, that would have made sense to me. It is simply a variation of the 270 or 285-degree idea, but I honestly can't see a reason or benefit of a 125-degree firing order. The equivalent would be a 235-degree firing order, which as far as I am aware has never been used on any twin-cylinder internal combustion engine. In theory, it would sound like a wide-angle 125-degree V-twin engine, which again, as far as I'm aware, has never been built. I will await you to tell me otherwise, though. So, I guess we shall have to wait and see with the engine. I can find no recent engine patents anywhere under the BMW name. What I will say is there are a lot of rumours about BMW moving production of the smaller to mid-capacity engines back to Rotax instead of using Launcin. Again, I will say nothing is confirmed, they are just rumours, but they do keep coming up. With all the bikes available from the KTM 390, BMW GS 310 up to the CF Moto 450, CB500X and many similar offerings, it is becoming a crowded and highly fought over sector of the market. The 400cc category was, after all, the only sector of the UK market to show any growth last year. So to conclude and summarise a little, the good first. If this is a 47 horsepower bike with a fueled weight of 175 kilos, that will make me very happy. I like the fact that they've included tubeless rims and fully adjustable suspension, and I do think it actually looks good, except for one thing I will come to shortly. Then we have the bad. That is, that it isn't here yet, and that the design may well be watered down for production or be very expensive. I also don't know if it has a ride-by-wire system, so can only say that if it does, that may be a deal breaker for me, and I hope that it hasn't. Lastly, we have the ugly, and on a bike I honestly think looks far better than most bikes I've seen over the last few years. Who the hell designed and decided to wrap that horrible plastic cowling around the radiator? It makes the bike look twice as big as it should be, and for what reason? It looks like they took two bits of a car bumper and cut a shape out of them to make them fit. I guess at least they didn't give it wings, so we can be thankful for that. Well, that's it for now. I do look forward to seeing and riding this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you have enjoyed the video, I hope you'll consider supporting the channel. Please don't use the YouTube giving button. As I've said, they take most of it, so there are far better ways. Instead, especially as it's that festive time of year, head over to our website where you can find the best biker t-shirts in our shop. We do plenty of custom work too, so if you've got an idea for a design, just give me a shout. There's also our Redbubble shop where you can find mugs, hats, wall art, sweatshirts, phone cases and more. Over 60 products with great quality printing delivered worldwide. Basically, if you can print on it, we can usually supply it somehow. Just drop me a line via the contact page on the website. Don't forget to check the community page for promo codes and discounts too. And while you're at it, take a look at our blog. It's packed with even more articles, videos and other tales of motorcycle adventures. There is a direct donation link in the description via Ko-fi for anyone who prefers just to donate. And please, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join the best motorcycle community on YouTube and be the first to see any new videos when they come out. And always remember, keep your spanners close and your keys even closer. Ride free, everyone!